Hello, and welcome to another episode of my Stellaris Let's Play. This is Northstar. I hope you folks are well. I did a run video here before, and I spent too long talking, trying to figure out what I was going to do, not taking much action. I figured it was too boring, even by the standards of some of these videos, so I scrapped it, and I'm trying again. Now, for those new to my channel, welcome. That's Train, welcome back. Very briefly, you should know, new folks, I'm disabled long COVID. That sometimes comes up. I talk about it. How, among other things, I'm trying to get my YouTube to where I can earn money off it to survive. So I'm too sick to do most jobs. It's very hard to get employers to make disability accommodations, such as shorter shifts and being able to sit down more frequently. They're necessary with my long COVID to be able to work most jobs because the physical energy is very low. My legs swell, I get lightheaded if my feet too long, that kind of stuff. It's tough. And though I apply to those jobs, I think I could do with reasonable accommodations. Employers won't hire me, and even though it's technically against the law, they don't have to make it look like it's discrimination. It's a disabled person, even though that's what it is. Because there's no real way in capitalism to enforce the rules against that kind of discrimination. One more reason why we need a different system. I guess I should say I am an anti-capitalist for those new to my channel. Anyways, I was staying with family, but it was abusive. Had to get the heck out of the situation, and didn't have a choice about it anyways in the end. And with the family I was staying with, this person hadn't always been like this, but having a disabled person with them, I guess, was just too much for them. Wow, that's actually extremely common. I knew the statistics on that. Alright, 2 levels of them today. That'll help. Probably have no energy, which is probably due to moving. My new apartment very recently, different room within the same. Well, it's a short-term place. It's supposed to be my apartment hunt for longer-term stuff. But that's not going well. I'm getting harassed, bullied by a bunch of people. People who think it's funny on Facebook Marketplace to message me and say, "Ha ha ha, you're gay." Gay was an insult. I'm not gay. I'm saying that they will just randomly say this. Number one, and number two, what century are they living in? Homophobia is not cool. To go and just message random people and call them gays and insult weren't even homosexual. It's ridiculous. It's it just shows what shitty people they are. And one person I found it might have been a decent roommate. Then says all the places were were scams, which either means, well, maybe they just missed some of the, there was a list, so maybe there's one or two they didn't, but either means that they are lying to me or they're all scams. Either way, I'm SOL, because either that roommate is lying for some reason about them all being scams, in which case probably don't want to stay with that person, or they're all scams, in which case they have no options. Either fucking way, it's bad, and it's tough. There's a housing crisis in America because housing is treated as a commodity, yes, but also because it's treated as commodity is not really the right phrase. People say commodity, and that's, I mean, technically, if you're like applying Marxist economics, which you get some truth, it's not real economics. No, it is. It's a school of economics that has been marginalized by billionaires, but it is in fact a real school of economics. Commodities are things that are traded for profit, not based on actual use value, but, well, you know, nearly anything exchanged in a capitalist economy. The real problem is not that it's a commodity, it's treated as an investment by huge numbers of Americans as the retirement investment, which is not how housing is treated in most of the world, although the UK is moving in the same direction. The UK has been making every effort to copy the shittiness of the United States because the billionaires there probably realized that it would be in their interest to do so. Anyways, this fleet should join this fight. Oh yeah, it's already doing it. Okay. Toyed with having this governor join, but this governor is in some ways actively holding back the planet. There are enough elites and specialists that these debuffs are worth to their output is worse than the buffs to worker output. So this is net native having this commander unless I'm working soldier jobs, which I don't have the pops for. They're not as high yield as actual worker jobs, so, you know, maybe preferable civilians if I need the naval capacity and had the new attrition for uni from defense armies, which I don't have yet, but I'll be getting very soon. City of Arcane. This is new. So, oh yeah, supply ship wreckage. I'll look at that on the 11th. One of the reasons I messed up before that I wanted to do differently is, could that, oh yeah. Could sense the Larian Royal Planet states this nexus of warmth in the cold void of space since before we left our planet. Now, we are finally united. Huh, they like me. Cool. You also see loyal vassals say similar things, though, even if they dislike you. In opinion. Flattery, I guess. I need alloys. I know from before. They got none that they can trade off instantly. However, they really, really love trade value. And we'll trade it ridiculous storms, honestly. Trade value for alloys. Throw in a single energy credit. Not that way, I should just sell the energy credits. You know what? I don't need to lose every last monthly trade I have. Throw in one of these. Let's get me up to 3. Let's get me up to 9, which is not enough to... Unless... Could trade away an energy, not get the food. We're trading. Alright. I'm going to be building more trade hubs, so actually I'll be fine on trade value. I have a small storehouse of this, plus I'll still have this almost 1 a month surplus. I mean, plus I still have some stored up. Okay. Less consumer goods. Nope. Minerals. Consider these more valuable than food. They would disagree. It takes more labor to produce a mineral than a unit of food. That. Throw in energy, I get a mineral. Throw in 2 energy, I get 2 minerals. Cool. And you're easier at producing food. So here we go. Thought I had 2 deals going on with them. It didn't merge them or something, did it? would be a quality of life feature instead of having 6 different deals there, but I doubt it since they expire at different times. Take a look once they approve. Anyways, see more enough minerals. It's not like that. Might not be worth it if to import stuff to the point where planets have deficits of minerals, but we're gonna have a surplus either way. Always be producing it here. Yeah, I just need the alloys. Anyhow. That's debris project. Give me a little progress in combat computers, that's it. I lost nothing, predictably. None of my ships were even damaged beyond their shields. And Bubbles may have taken a little armor damage, which should heal over time. Boom. Coast fleet destroyed. The coast fleet operating the Starbases has been destroyed in battle. Supply ship package cargo. Alari has come to our attention that a missing Kelsodian supply ship sustained terminal damage en route to seen and drifted into Larian space, where it was promptly and unceremoniously pilfered of its cargo. Did you really believe this transgression would go unnoticed? Kelsodian Accord requests the immediate reimbursement of our supplies. Oh, I can return them. And then they won't seal their borders, and then this science ship can make it to Hirjascant. They won't. And I can bring it out of it. Otherwise, it's going to be a very roundabout path there. It's worth it, I think, to explore more. We will return your supplies. It's worth it. I didn't realize that was even an option. That's new. Now if I just given it to begin with, we've got an influence. The way things are going, I'm gonna be super passing the cap anyways, and what happened before was the thing, the toast timed out and I missed it, so I didn't get the option of just return supplies, and I desperately need minerals at that time. I don't need them so desperately now. I do kind of like that. Supplies? What supplies? It's kind of funny. I almost took it just for the walls, but nope. I've been in the habit here lately of making these videos long enough to cut in two. Which also reduces the file size because there's a formatting change that goes on with Clipchamp when I do it. Change the 10b4, which is a more compact file size, quicker to upload. It's easier than having to remember when to do the MKVs. It does mean you guys only get greeted every other video and told farewell every other. The other ones, the ones that have either a greeting or a farewell, not both. But whatever. Having this person as a governor Does add to mineral output, food output. They should consider reassigned to a fleet. They'll still gain some XP passively in a fleet. And the planet will not suffer from reduced output overall of Unity and consumer goods in exchange for metals and food. Not a worthwhile trade at this level. It's not even worth it for the crime thing. What it does do, though, is slightly increase the ethics attraction towards authoritarian, which has some long-term benefits, especially because all the ruling class here are spiritualists instead. Don't like me as much. Oh, that's not even true anymore. Because of the come from the past thing. The spiritualists. They actually are happier than authoritarians by a tiny fraction of a percent. Some things don't. They say 5%, they give like 4.99, which can matter when you need a threshold. Sometimes they won't push something up to a certain threshold of approval that something that was an even 5 would. I don't know if it's intended or bad coding by Paradox, but it's the way things are. Should just return the supplies. Beginning, of course, it would have. Then had to, well, it would have had a bunch of influence now, and then I would have claimed more systems. But the positive opinion canceled out the debuff for a while. Oh well. All these systems claimed. Soon their homeworld. It's mostly a matter at this point of saving some alloys or building outposts later. That's about it. Since I'm definitely going to claim their homeworld in a single war. Take all their habited worlds, which will make everything else unclaimed. And I think resurveyable if I didn't already have full in surveying on systems. Won't be too long to that war. Could declare whenever I'm ready already. Liberation Wars allows you to declare offensive wars against hive minds or not gestalts or non-ideology matched empires. But not ones that match your ideology or that aren't gestalt. Gestalts don't have normal ethos. Also allows you to claim gestalt territory in peacetime. So in a way, starting next to Hive Mind was good because it allows me to still expand more while pacifist. Or more quickly. If it was a normal empire, I could still break it up with status quo ideology wars. Create splinter empires that then subjugate and peacefully annex, but it's slow and takes a lot of influence to do that. Speed is... This takes a lot of influence too, so speed is the bigger issue, I think. Alright. Oh. Let's resettle. 67 civilians? It's only telling me there's 10. That's weird. To anchor. Or to synth. To synth. Hmm. Oh, should have. I might not have actually gotten the yields of those farmers instantly. Hmm. Oh, one thing is when I have the tech robots, I'll actually replace the medical center because the medical center generates less pop growth than the luxury housing right now. Without the luxury housing, this I looked at it would drop like 0.9 pop growth a month, which is I get 0.6 from the medical center. Max, that's slightly less. And this is a plus 5 pops, it's 0.6. It's just slightly less than 0.6 a month from the medical center. Also consumes consumer goods and more labor. So robots are more profitable than good medical care, unfortunately. And this is an authoritarian power that does not care about its people as much as, say, egalitarians might.
Construction completed.
Couple places that have 2 trade hubs and nebula refinery, so 16 trade and 11 minerals for an upkeep of, it says base 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and base estimate 6. 6 energy slightly reduced. Definitely profitable. Even profitable to go over the Starbase cap zone. I don't want the hours for that yet. It's extra energy upkeep. Not nearly as big a deal as extra trade in minerals or food. Hydroponics modules or nebula refineries. Nebula refineries are better than hydroponics, but there's only these 4 systems they can build those, so everywhere else is just hydroponics modules. More civilians. I guess I should send some to anchor. Certainly have use for more technicians, more squires. For now, squires. Boom. There we go. Alloys and minerals. First reduction in my energy surplus, and I'll promise especially when some plants are running energy deficits and I actually want to produce more energy on them. Synth, anchor. I think I would want to reduce the number of technicians in Hesek. So only have a bunch of unemployed specialists in crime is a problem. Set 40%. Seems to go up and down based on how many unemployed pops are in the crime levels. You know, crimes of desperation. People become marginalized by poverty and commit crimes because they're less connected to their communities. You know, that's a real life thing. And one more reason capitalism is self-defeating, because it creates inequality, which creates crime, which necessitates resources to deal with, whether it's through prisons and police, which is the oppressive, brutal system, or through social workers and psychologists and anti-poverty programs, which require bureaucrats to run a course. Either way, you spend resources dealing with the problem that only exists in the first place because workers are paid less than the full value they produce and don't make enough to, say, save up for a rainy day. Like if they become disabled people would need less help. At least those who were able to work for a while before it became disabled. If workers were paid a larger percentage what they produce, it would never be all, because you always want to put some aside for capital reinvestments. But the portion that right now is used to support the luxurious lifestyles of the very rich, the capitalist class. Now here, this is in territory I don't own, but it seems I can actually finish this because I started before then. Not sure if that's a bug, but I'll take it. As long as I start Stellar, same thing. Creating a problem that you then have to spend resources solving, even if that makes the GDP seem to go up, which is one of the things why GDP isn't always a perfect measure of how successful an economic system is. Even if it led to higher GDP, if it's creating GDP through solving problems it created, well, that's broken Windows theory nonsense. That's not actually a stronger economy. And it doesn't say what you will about the Soviet Union actually had a higher long-term GDP growth rate than the United States. The cost of that was political oppression, and I am not a Marxist-Leninist. I do not agree with the one-party state the Soviet Union had, which is what led to the political repression. I'm a Marxist, a democratic socialist. You need opposition parties. Maybe the chaos of opposition parties would lead to slower GDP growth, and you might have democratic socialism not exceed capitalism. I doubt it. If anything, democracy should increase economic growth rates. But since democratic socialism has never really been tried, because every time it formed, the US couped, or France, because there have been 2 democratic socialist countries that formed in the history of Earth, only 2, and the US couped one and France couped the other. So it's never gotten a chance to succeed. We don't know how it would work. That is Chile, Salvador Allende's Chile, and Burkina Faso, which is now trying to, at least the guy who's in charge there now claims he's trying to go back to that path. We'll see if he establishes an actual multi-party. Seems more like the guy is, if anything, a Maoist, which is not democratic socialism. Doesn't have the opposition parties. Just like what China is he's probably trying to set up a system that's modeled on China, which may work, but it's not a test for democratic socialism. But, you know, Chile had problems because the US went about economically sabotaging it, cutting off from trade, and it's a country that cannot grow its own food, never has, never will, because of the terrain there, and there's more people than the terrain can support, so they have to import food, and the US cut them off from food imports, which led to food shortages. Understandably, and that caused some chaos. That said, the quality of life of most people actually went up because it wasn't starvation level food shortages, it was just like people had to tighten their belt, literally. But the food was distributed more evenly, and so actually childhood hunger went down even as food became scarce in the country, and because there was like a program, I think it was free milk for families with young kids, which is kind of like America's WIC program, but Chile didn't have anything like that for socialist rule. And didn't once Pinochet was the U.S. support dictator who the CIA put in by assassinating people. Well, it tried to do a coup. The coup failed. Then it assassinated a general who bought the coup in its very early stages. Was trying to kidnap him, supposedly, but the kidnapping attempt was a failure, and instead the guy ended up dead. And then with that obstacle to a coup removed, the U.S. continued to push propaganda in the military about how terrible socialism was. And Pinochet did a coup. Now, supposedly, Henry Kissinger told Nixon it wasn't us that we didn't, but while Pinochet may not have technically done the coup on CIA instigation, the CIA removed the obstacles, and without assassinating that guy, the coup would have never happened. So it was still the U.S. that did it, and the U.S. absolutely propped up Pinochet's regime once it formed, with military and economic aid and making excuses for their crimes against humanity. So, yeah. But we know for sure you can get better economic growth with Marxist-Leninism than you can with capitalism. The evidence shows that. Now, the Soviet economy collapsed in the end, so it may not be as stable maybe, but it grew faster until it collapsed. Democratic socialism probably is more stable and probably grows even faster than communism. Capitalism creates problems with crime, inequality, poverty. In fact, once you remove China from the equation, and Cuba and other socialist countries, the global extreme poverty rate, using the UN definition of $8 a day instead of the World Bank $2 a day definition, the percentage of people living in poverty has barely gone down, and the absolute number has considerably increased over the past 100 years in the capitalist world. Third world has not done well under capitalism. The percent has gone down, so you may say that's a victory, but it's a very small victory. I think it went from like 58 to 54% extreme poverty. That's pathetic. And that's really just based on one or two countries that were capitalists, but usually had some left-wing policies voted in. In fact, every single country that's reduced its poverty rate did so with high government spending on social programs. So like food programs, education assistance, Democratic Party in the US type things, capitalists, but left-wing capitalists. Right-wing capitalism has never reduced poverty in any country in the third world. Maybe in Europe, but never outside of Europe. So, well, I guess the first world is not just Europe, it's Europe, Japan, but no third world country has ever, through right-wing capitalism, reduced its poverty rate, its extreme poverty rate, or normal poverty rate. Sometimes they fudge numbers to try and claim they do, but in the end, no economist believes it, and the data, once those regimes collapse, show that they're lying. And that's when you have usually like dictatorships like Pinochet's Chile, which tried to claim they brought down poverty, but they didn't. Now, poverty later came down after Pinochet was out of power, but that's when politics swung back to the left in Chile. Came with an explosion of government spending on anti-poverty programs and attempts to undo the damage that Pinochet had done. But it was left-wing capitalism, not socialism, after Pinochet was gone. Anyways, that's one of the countries with the highest spending, but globally the extreme poverty rate has barely decreased and the number of people in extreme poverty has increased, using the UN definition of $8 a day instead of $2. So you could say people moved out of the $2 a day category some, but others have fallen into the $8 a day, and these are pathetic levels of income. And it's not that people aren't producing more value, it's that they work for multinational firms that pay them on average, in many cases, about 1/40th the value produced. So maybe someone produces $280 a day of value, and they get paid 7. They're living in extreme poverty by the UN definition, but they're producing enough that they could actually live a quite decent life. $280 a day is... that would be decent money even in the United States. They were paid the value they produced. It's not a lack of productivity, it's a lack of fairness in strong labor unions to ensure that people get paid what they produce. In a third world. Anyways. Almost done with this urban expansion, which will add housing, which will make synth grow faster. Working on robots. Place the medical center. There's always so many build slots. This will be a monument. This will become a robot factory. I'll add a robot factory here. I never even had a medical center on Anchor. I've got to build slot. I'll add one here. It sucks that medical centers aren't worthwhile unless you're running like Farm Estate with the cloning ascension path, and cloning is generally weaker than mutagenesis, which the reason is cloning lets you stack multiple cloning vats on a planet, and then the higher base growth rate can actually, well, the higher bonus growth rate can actually make medical centers worthwhile. Farm Estate increases the value of medical workers, so they think it makes them generate trade value. They generate more trade value in their upkeep in consumer goods, so they're now low end. They produce little value surplus even before you account for the pop growth they produce. It's a mega core civic, though. Farm Estate. I remember there's some drawback of it. I forget what it is. Anyways. This is about to finish. Tuition's available. Alright. Unyielding. Domestication doesn't say anything about giving the artificial brain text. I guess anyone should be able to get it. Hopefully. Otherwise, this is a waste for any empire that doesn't have Beastmaster Civic, which you can't swap into. Anyways. This isn't bad, but I already decided what I was going to do. Harmony, Mercantile, and Unyielding for my remaining 3. Specifically Unyielding, because where the heck is it here? The galaxy is vast and full of dangers, sure. Starbase capacity, whatever. Useful early on, scales less well if you grow wide enough, but resistance is frugal is the reason. I have tons of defense armies on Anchor, and that'll even make soldier jobs worth it elsewhere, like in the synth on occasion. Enforcers produce defense armies, so they become a little better. Enforcers are also buffed by domination, so there's synergy there.
Council agenda available.
As I do this, I get uni from enforcers. I do this. I get uni from the defense armies they generate. This makes each enforcer worth 2 uni, basically. And well, this part of it gets multiplied by like stability, whereas this doesn't, so it's a little more. It's like 2.2 or 2.1 at least unity per enforcer. It's in addition to their value in reducing crime and obviously defending a planet. Resistance is frugal. Our people take great comfort in the strength of bulwarks that guard our planets and view them as vital to ensuring a more prosperous future. Fortress Doctrine and the Finisher. I thought there was a third thing that increased. I thought the Finisher increased Starbase capacity. No, it's just Fortress Doctrine. So it's only +4, which is +6 from Unyielding. Most empires except knights. This is not a good tradition. Or if you're going to do what I'm going to do, where you're going to balkanize yourself and federation with all the nations you released. And make sure they each have their starbase capped. Then that may start you a lot more starbases because they're each gain the +4. The agenda impenetrable border has been a lot. Starbase hold points, upgrade costs, and reduced war exhaustion gain. Yeah, not useful at all. Alright. There's no civilians on Hesek this month. A whole bunch of unemployed specialists that haven't yet demoted. Seems to be semi-random how long it takes to demote. Sometimes it's very quick, sometimes not. Just as it is what strata new pops will generate. Sometimes it's workers, sometimes it's specialists. It's obviously centered based on the relative pop numbers, but you'll notice I didn't get any workers and I had about the same number of specialists and workers. It's weird. Randomized in weird ways. This month I seem to have generated always specialists in my planets. I don't think I had gained any workers directly anywhere. I think all the workers decided to stop having kids. Right. Expansion, which will allow more luxury housing. Synth is soon to be maxing its growth. Plenty of energy to sustain that. So we'll Starbases to feed the pops. And trade value. I'll add some civilian industries, so I'll have enough consumer goods, and then some. But yeah, robots also mean that this stupid thing that should have been firing before. I had to fix things so pre-sapients weren't counted. But the existence of robots will mean that I can go back to the vanilla game files and get achievements again. I'll even go back to this. I think this is back when there was bubbles. I think get the achievement for It Followed Me Home, if that was before it. I should really check. Get achievements again though. Because my authoritarians will be happy regardless. I won't need to. In fact, I can swap out of the stratified economy if I want into decent conditions. Make. Let's see. Specialist political power. Yeah, it's higher under decent conditions. 1.25 more per specialist. Expensive elites having 3 less. So if you have like not quite 3 specialists for every elite, it's definitely worthwhile in terms of pair faction unity. And the workers won't be as upset, or social welfare. Makes specialists even more powerful and under decent conditions. Reduces elite power even more though, but it adds to worker political power. Oh, and job efficiency for civilians. Huh, that's new. But yeah, higher living standards are often worthwhile for you spend more consumer goods, but you get more faction unity and less fewer problems with crime, so you don't need to run as many enforcers. It is just barely worthwhile. Social democracy is net positive in this game, but not as much as it probably should be realistically. Probably represents the particular political biases of this game studio. It's from Sweden, which is a country that's a social democracy, but it's tending out of it. It's barely hanging on to its social democracy, and companies like Paradox are probably less left-wing than most of the Swedish population. People in software often think that they're great, virtuous people, rich by virtue of their own skills, and they don't realize they were lucky enough to have a skill set that's particularly valuable this time in history, but is becoming less valuable with every year, number one, as there's more competition for their jobs, and two, that's luck of the draw. I was born with a talent for biology. It's not nearly as in high demand as computer science right now, but it's just as socially important. Even if there's a surplus of potential biologists, there's a lot of diseases we could cure and such. Anyways, I have 11 times the specialists of elites on my capital. Since there's literally only one that's almost entirely specialist on Anchor. And the synth is the only place that even skews. So, higher living standards with robots. People will be happy as long as the robots are kept depressed, which they're not sentient, so who cares? They can't think or feel yet, at least on the robots level. The droids arguably might not be sentient, but might be starting to acquire feelings, and it starts to become more ethically questionable. And since they're definitely sentient, and that's slavery of circuits, but who cares if they're circuits instead of flesh? It's wrong. Of course, spiritualists can ban the creation of AI. I don't think I even get the option yet until I get closer, but there's an AI policy, unless they changed it, which will prevent rolling synth tech, so I don't even have to worry about it rolling and blocking more valuable stuff. Of course, there's also like custom AIs the researchers can make, which are like quasi-sentient. They are in the gray area enough that they get banned. You can't roll that trait and it's useful, so maybe worth just rolling and never taking synth. Choosing not to create AIs rather than banning its creation in this game. I thought realistically it'd be done if it was legal, so you should ban it. It is an existential threat. I do agree with that. Sapien, a general AI, should be illegal to create, but many people think otherwise, and they don't seem to realize that in our society, the way it is, weak prison complex, that any sapient AIs that are created will be instantly subjected to basically slavery. We will not treat them as sapient beings that are deserving of rights and respect, and therefore we should not be creating it because slavery is wrong. It doesn't matter if it's flesh or circuits, it's still a sapient being. We're not anywhere near that, supposedly, many people think, though they could always be wrong, but there is an expert who thinks that within like 4 to 8 years we might achieve it, but he thinks it'll be unexpected and based on using non-sapient AIs to improve the programming of non-sapient AIs in black box systems, which, I mean, they already have like ChatGPT's helping with programming. It's something that, based on whether the guy's a charlatan or he's telling the truth about having supposedly seen that some companies are already using AI to improve other AI programming. It's not anywhere near the point of sapience, because it doesn't, not like in Terminator where they do this, they figure out how to do this, and like within a minute the thing becomes sentient. No. It should take years to actually get to that point. Not throwing nearly enough processing power at it for it to become sentient instantly, but could happen sooner than we expect, is the point. Could happen in 20 years when we think it'll be 200 kind of thing, but if it happens, we're in trouble. It's not gonna, unless we're stupid enough to give control nukes to something, it's not like we're gonna get wiped out by it, but it still cause serious problems and unrest, and it's not necessarily gonna be a good thing. And that stuff could lead to like nuclear war indirectly. if it destabilizes society enough. So it is an existential threat, just not for the reasons people think. Anything, our society is so close to wiping itself out with nukes that anything that destabilizes society enough is an existential threat, whether that's sapient AI or climate change. Because we really are close to just all nuking each other and humanity ceasing to exist. It's a very fragile place we are in our history, and people do not take it with the proper seriousness. Oh, shoot. Here I get talking and not... This is already upgrading. As is this. I may run these worlds, but these systems I'll probably hand off to a prospectorium based up here somewhere, like a Sujama. I think this is just far enough to form a different sector, and if it's not, I can grab Gothra for this empire. That definitely is, and if I can't, I might be able to stick Habitat on Orval, which is definitely far enough away, or Tamana. The point is, there will eventually be a probably splitting off a vessel, which would be a prospectorium somewhere up here, and I'll give it control of Starbases out this way. So I'll upgrade the ones that I know I can hand off. Anyhow. Almost to the point where I can cut this video too and end it. Trying to go for more shorter videos because they're more watchable. I feel like videos an hour long. People are looking at it, nope. It's 36 minutes. Someone will say, yeah, I'll watch this, you know. I often cut with a little overlap between, so people can get their bearings who watched the last video. You know, when things are overwhelming, you know, you can always watch a video halfway, pause, come back to another day. People don't do that usually. It's just an aspect of human psychology. I don't even do that. I shouldn't expect others to. Unless something's super long, I really want to watch it. I very rarely do that, I should say.
System survey concluded.